What's that smell? Oh, the sweet money. Oh, it sings to me. It's enough to make a man sick. So there's one thing that no one is really talking about this whole Wizards of the Coast's and OGL 1.1 situation. It's that this is not a bug in our system. It is a feature. Hi, my name is Fondue, and on this channel, I talk about the tabletop role-playing game industry, give you Foundry VTT tutorials, and then tips and tricks on tabletop role-playing games in general, and some daily tabletop role-playing game memes. So if you like that, hit that like and subscribe button down there. Now, I'm sure most of you have heard about the OGL 1.1 mess and ensuing leaks afterwards from Wizards of the Coast and what's been going on, but to recap, let's just go through the basics. A new version of the Open Gaming License, OGL 1.1, leaked, and it had some pretty terrible things in it. So Wizards wanted a revenue share from you if you were earning over $750,000 US from your third-party publishing content. You also needed to report all of your work to Wizards, and they also had a perpetual irrevocable license to all of your work and didn't have to pay you anything for that. Also, this license only covered books and PDFs, so VTT content was not allowed, which would have pushed them to use Wizards' own VTT, which is coming out together with 1D&D. And finally, of course, the situation has changed. There is a new draft of the OGL 1.2, and Wizards has changed their direction and stance on this topic quite significantly, although OGL 1.2 still have some issues in it, but that's another video. As I said in the beginning of the video, this is not a bug in our system in the world that we live in. No, this is a feature. And that is because what Wizards is doing and what most big corporations will do within our world is they will try to monopolize. There's this thing within our current financial system called a tendency towards monopoly. Now, what is that? So as corporations get bigger and earn more money, it becomes more beneficial to them to buy out their competition, which is why we see 90% of the American media landscape dominated by 6 companies, or why we saw Microsoft try to purchase Activision Blizzard as a whole, though that purchase has not yet gone through, or they try to push out their competition, which is exactly what we see Walmart do when they enter a new area. They set up shop, they undercut the prices of all the local shops to a point where they cannot compete. Walmart can because they're a huge corporation, so they can take a loss for a few years while the local stores go bankrupt, and once that has happened and Walmart is dominating the area, they slowly raise their prices back to a profitable level. The reason to do this is because it's less risky and more profitable to dominate the market by either pushing out your competition or buying them out than it is to innovate with innovative new products. And we can see this with Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro, the company that bought Wizards of the Coast, because then Wizards of the Coast bought D&D Beyond, which has been the premium online service for your books and character sheets and other supplementary content, and now they're also making a VTT, and they're trying to push people to use only their VTT, and hence trying to dominate the market. Now, Wizards of the Coast would love nothing more than to have 1D&D's virtual tabletop be the only virtual tabletop in town. Other companies have tried to do a similar thing. Microsoft, once again, if you remember, with Xbox One, the original pitch was that Xbox One would require an always online connection to verify that you actually own the games that you're playing. And then I think the original plan was within 24 hours of being offline, it will basically shut down the game that you're playing and say you need to reconnect to the internet. But there was a huge backlash to this once they revealed the plan, and they changed course, and that never happened. Now you might be thinking, wait a minute, why is this legal? Aren't monopolies illegal? Aren't there antitrust laws? Well, yes, there are, but the thing is, if you don't have a monopoly, but you have a duopoly or an oligopoly, that's not against the law. If a few companies dominate the market and basically hold a stranglehold on it, that's not illegal. That can be done. That's why it happens, or can happen rather. And once again, the reason that Wizards of the Coast is doing these actions is because it wants to increase its profits dramatically, as it has said before itself that D&D is, quote, under-monetized as a hobby, so they need to increase their profits so that shareholder value at Hasbro can go up. And as I've mentioned, this tendency towards monopoly happens in a variety of different industries. It's not just limited to gaming or tabletop role-playing games. So I want to really highlight here that what Wizards is doing is not unique in that they're trying to corner a market and dominate it. It's not. And if it were another company, if let's say Paizo was the Wizards instead of Wizards, Paizo was as big as Wizards, they were owned by Hasbro and they'd be bought out by Hasbro, and Pathfinder 2 was as big as D&D is now, and they would swap places essentially. This would have happened regardless, in my opinion. It would have happened eventually because, again, this tendency, once the corporations become this big, it happens. It makes sense from a business perspective. It's less risky, it's more safe, it brings you more profit to buy out your competition and push out everyone else rather than to innovate. It's just logical from a business standpoint. And currently, you can do it. But of course, it's important to remember that this type of decision is not made by the people at Wizards who are making 1D&D or they're making D&D Beyond the service. Those are not the people making this decision. It's the executives at Wizards of the Coast, the CEO, the VP. It's the executives at Hasbro that push for these decisions and have the power to make these decisions. It's not the people who want to make the games and make the games as fun as possible. They're not making these decisions. That's not on them. So what can be done about this? Well, obviously we need some bigger system-wide changes to make so this can't and shouldn't happen. But in the meantime, what you can do is, not give your money to Wizards of the Coast currently as this whole OGL situation is still unfolding. So, cancel your D&D and Beyond subscriptions, don't buy any more books, that kind of stuff. But importantly, you can support other game systems. I'm going to leave a bunch of links down in the description with some articles that have some interesting other games to play than D&D, and especially you should be supporting indie games. There's some really cool games there. You should check them out nonetheless. And of course, making a lot of noise online about all of these things that are currently happening within D&D and the tabletop role-playing game industry. Though, be respectful, don't harass people, do not go after the individual workers at Wizards, because as I mentioned, this is not a decision that they can make. This is a decision that goes higher up to the executives. And of course, unionization is very important because if the workers are unionized, they can protest against this. But that, of course, is a bigger topic, and that would be a longer term goal. And as we've seen, this has worked. Wizards has changed course with the OGL 1.1, and now we have the OGL 1.2, which is better but still needs improvements. And this happened because people were canceling their subscriptions from D&D Beyond en masse, and because people were making a lot of noise online. Wizards has burned a lot of goodwill now over the past month or so. So these are the things that you can do. And remember to play other games and support third-party publishers. But yeah, that's my thoughts on this whole OGL situation. This was a systemic thing that I think no one was really talking about, that this tendency towards monopoly is just, it's a part of the world that we live in, and it's a part of our current system under which we live. And this was kind of inevitable. This was going to happen due to the size that Wizards has gotten into. It only makes sense that they start to dominate the market like this. But what do you think? What do you think about this analysis that I'm giving you? Let me know your thoughts down there in the comments below. And while you're there, I would really appreciate a like and subscribe if you are enjoying this video and this content that I'm making. Also, I'd like you to know that I stream on twitch.tv/diceandeasy every Monday and Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern European Standard Time. That is twitch.tv/diceandeasy. A follow there would be appreciated. Link for that also down in the description box. Now on the screen, you're going to see another video of mine, which I think you should give a look because it is a fine video that I have made. Thank you very much for watching this video. I appreciate it, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye-bye.